After almost a decade of its implementation, some labor unions are calling for the review of the single spine pay policy. What are their reasons? Let's hear them on this episode of News Connect on City TV. My name is Kojo Achman. Stay tuned. What do you want to be done with the single spine pay policy?
You will agree with me that the introduction of the single spine pay policy came about when the then president, His Excellency George Akumpufo, realized that government is pretending to be paying civil servants, and civil servants also pretended to be working. Okay, so there was a need to rationalize the pay policy itself, that is aligning qualification to the kind of job being done, and then aligning also the rate of pay to the kind of job roles that people had. This was the brain behind it. And you recall and agree with me that our friends in the police were first we migrated on the single spine pay policy, and it was like hooray. But how many years now? The values on which they were, brought on the single spine have lost its significant value as I talk to you today. So much on our cost of living in this country have made those salaries no more worthy.
The calls for review means that people are not satisfied with what the current outcomes of the single spine. There are people who feel that they have not been treated very well under the single spine. Again, there are also certain people who felt that they could have been way ahead others. But, the job environment is such that there are relativities. And everybody finds himself in a sector that he deems very specialized. And that some of us don't even believe that any sector is more important than the other, but rather we are all contributing in our different spheres of endeavor to contribute to the development of our country. So in reviewing the single spine, we have to be very careful not to advantage some other people over others. And those were the reasons for the continuous labor agitation prior to the implementation of the single spine.
So, in effect, are you indifferent? Should it be reviewed upward or downwards? Because, remember, government came out, I think in 2018, that the single spine policy is putting a huge burden on the public purse. I don't know if it's supposed to be reviewed. Is it upwards or downwards?
Well, salaries cannot be reviewed downwards. So if it is salary review, it can only go upwards. But I think they are talking about a general review to see whether compensation is having a direct bearing to productivity, to see whether certain people have not been shortchanged under the system and certain people have not been over-advantaged into the system, so that we fine-tune the system. That is what they are talking about when they talk about review. And that is also my understanding of review. A program that has been running for 10 years ought to be reviewed so that we see the inherent challenges within the program, the challenges that have bedeviled the program so far, so that we rectify them and have a seemingly perfect program. I think that's what they are talking about, and that is what we are also looking forward to.
Over the years, we have realized that our take-home pay has dwindled, because the economic reality is that what we used to take is no more what we get today. So it means that what we expected after a 10-year period is not what we are getting today. So there's a need for the worker to be motivated, and it is only the take-home pay that will motivate the worker to do his best. So if we really want efficiency at the workplace, then we should look at the pay of the worker. And that is the policy we have taken upon ourselves. That's the single spine. So if we are seeing economic situation eroding our pays, then we have to go back to the drawing board and re-engineer what we have done for ourselves. The reality is that as a developing country, we know the situation is not easy, but we must face it and ensure that the worker is given the right money or pay, so that when he's at the workplace, he's satisfied to give out his best.
Check in the last 5 years what has been the percentage of increases. The highest we have seen is 12%. And if the base is weak, okay, no matter such pittance increases, it will still not stand. But let's take the inflation that we have also suffered. Let's take the cost of living that we also find ourselves now. Things that 2 cities could do about 4 years ago, it cannot do now. So it tells you that either the currency is losing its value, depreciating fast against its very use, or the kind of pay that is also being reviewed is not being properly reviewed. These 10% is not adding on. Because don't forget, if you get the 10%, the tendency that it may take you to the next tax bracket, okay, you rather end up paying more tax than you actually had, okay. And this is not helping the Ghanaian worker. So the entire single pay policy must be relooked at again. For us in labor, we think the challenge is very sickening. It's disheartening. It's not making the worker to realize their real value. If you look at salaries that go to the banks are asking, are they still paying you allowances? When will they start paying you real salaries? This is what is happening in the country now.
How do you want this re-engineering or this review to be done?
In fact, wherever there is a collective agreement, okay, you will certainly find a clause that after a period of time, the entire organogram will be affected as people run on. You get to a point where most of the people will get on top of scale, that even when salaries are increased, okay, they don't see significant movement because they are on top of scale. Right at that point, the numbers will then determine and push that, look, it's better we restructure. Some may decide that we will extend the incremental jumps that we have. Some will also decide that we will not extend the incremental jumps, but rather we will increase the base salaries to at least bring everybody to relevant times of the season. These are two among other ways by which, if you want to do re-engineering, you could look at it, and especially when the job role is more demanding than it had ever been. Okay, and we believe this is where we find ourselves now. If you look at the risk our policemen are facing now, where they are facing the onslaught of armed robbers, let's count how many of them painfully. I'm not remembering any family of any deeper pain, but you could see that their risk level have gone very high, and therefore if we want to look at the single spine again, the risk level, the weighted jobs that are being done will definitely change their skills again. So much has happened that we believe there should be a revisit to this particular scheme.
That'll be all for this episode of News Connect on City TV. My name is Kojo Achman. Keep watching City TV.